Tonight on Unsolved Killer Podcast, a poignant saga of a man who has spent years traveling around the globe in search of the elusive Bigfoot transformer, Minton Box, which doesn't really matter because he's going to take it out of the box anyway. In Burlington, Iowa, a young boy would watch Unsolved Mysteries in his footy pajamas, one day dreaming of growing an epic beard. And finally, we will do a follow-up of the story about a man driven mad from watching too many apocalyptic nuclear fallout films and Category 13 movies. All tonight on Unsolved Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Time for the show. Yay.
What?
This program is about the TV show Unsolved Mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials refuse to participate in reenactments in the event. So we just tell people they did. What you're about to hear is just a podcast where a group of friends get together to talk about horror movies and now apparently TV shows. This show may contain spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 367 of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I am your host, Insane Mike, and we will be talking about Unsolved Mysteries. Now, the show ran from 87 all the way up to 2024. I mean, there's definitely a lot of gaps in between, but it began on NBC in 1987, moved over to the CBS in its 10th season in 97, where it only lasted 2 seasons until canceled in 99. Then Lifetime, of all places, picked it up from 2001 to 2002. There, its whereabouts were a mystery until it was revived on Spike TV in 2008 with 2 more years. Then in 2020, much like everything else they get their hands on, Netflix ruined the show from 2020 to 2024. Before we get into all of that, though, I would quickly want to mention our Patreon. If you go to jointheattackers.com, you can pick the tier that best suits you and donate to the show. All of your donations go right back into making the show bigger and better for you, the listeners. When you do join our Patreon, you become part of the Killer Podcast family that we call the Attackers. As an attacker, you can get all kinds of content that is exclusive just to you. You can get our bonus episodes that come out on the opposite weeks of the regular show, or you can even watch them live as we record them. And if you were to watch them live as we record them, being an attacker, you have the ability of being part of the show by talking with us in the chat, and we read your comments on the show. Our next bonus episode, we're going to be talking about our favorite horror TV shows. So you need to check that out by becoming an attacker. But there's so much more you can get, such as our YouTube shows, original art, membership card, and certificate. So much more. You even get shout-outs on the show like these attackers.
Timothy Leonard, Roman Doppelfeld, Larry Watanabe, Brett J. Royer, Jessica Irish, Chris Cook, Brian Godsell, Stefan Sitter, Brandy Moore, Andrew Mahler, Rodney Dean Hutchinson Jr., Carmen DeHague, Abraham Ariano, Andrew Bentler, Casey Kelderman, Tony Miller, Mike Clayton, Rose Talashoma, Abe Kirshner, Lisa Cavalier, Holly Berg, Bill Fisher, Greg Dedrick, Sam Lenz, Garth Jacobson, Brett White, Tiffany DeWeese, Scott Reebsman, and Chris Collins.
You, too, can be on that list. All you have to do is go to jointheattackers.com, pick the tier that best suits you, and become an attacker today. And now it is time to introduce you to the podcast crew. He is such a fan that he has a collection of naked photos of the host of Unsolved Mysteries. I've seen them. Let's just say Robert is stacked. Tad, everybody.
Hell yeah. Spank bank.
His favorite episode was about the case of the missing toilet. To this day, it is still unsolved because the police have nothing to go on. Brian.
One of these days they'll flush him out. Hi, everyone.
He solved the mystery on how the pyramids were built. They started from the ground and worked their way up. Jason.
Oh my. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. So glad you are here.
Speaking of here,
Where?
2 weeks in a row, 2 episodes in a row now, we've done topics about TV shows. Now, we do watch movies on this show, I promise. Fine, if you want proof that we watch movies, here's Tad with what we watched.
You're right, Mike. I've actually been to the theater 3 times since
Hot
the last
damn.
time we recorded.
Nice.
So, and I know someone else who has, so I'm going to throw it to him. Brian, what have you watched?
Yeah, we finally got out to the theater in the first time in what seems like forever and caught Obsession. And
Fuck yeah.
damn, that was really good. And I mean, of course, ever since Milk and Cereal, I've been excited to see what Curry Barker is going to do next. And man, he fucking delivered. I won't say much because this is kind of one of those things you should just go in not knowing anything about. But clearly, it's doing huge business. I think it didn't even cost $800,000 to make, right?
Which is insane.
And
Yeah,
it's- and it's
700,000.
Blew past 100 million.
It's
while
made
ago
120 over 125 times its budget.
That's fucking amazing. And also, this is the first time since all the hype around Next Generation before I actually saw it that I've been excited for new Texas Chainsaw.
Hell yeah.
Because
Is he doing it or something?
He is,
Yeah.
right? 24.
Yeah, so I at this point, I absolutely trust him to do a good job with just about anything.
Wait a minute, you said since Next Generation? Really?
Come on.
It's
The
Brian.
last time
Come
I was
on.
excited
you're
about
right.
for something, yeah.
I
'Cause
know.
what else was there? There was that dog shit Leatherface
Come on,
prequel.
come on, we're moving
I
on.
love
And
that
that
one.
fucking horrible Netflix movie.
Oh, I like
Oh,
that
that
one
was so
too.
good. So good. Hey, I know.
Curry Barker started another Texas Chainsaw Massacre debate.
I know nothing about this Obsession movie, and I heard y'all talking about it, and I went and looked it up for a second. I'm like, this looks like a dumb little drama, a little like
it
boy-girl
fucking
drama.
rules. It's
like,
tense and
Not
scary.
a horror movie in any way from what I see.
performances are amazing.
Feel bad movie of the year.
Oh, well,
I
thanks
mean,
for
it's up there.
thanks for letting me not have to go watch it.
It's,
It is so well done, though. It's so good.
Since
Yeah.
when do you not want to watch a boy-girl drama?
Yeah, not in the good. Yeah, it looked like it was just
Oh.
something that was going to be on the CW from what I saw.
Oh no.
not at all.
But like, I didn't watch
What?
the trailer or anything. I just from some pictures and the
If
look of
this
the
is
poster,
a new
it looked
movie
so
that I
lame.
am this hyped on,
Well, it
trust
must-
me, it is
it
not a
must be
fucking
feel-bad.
CW drama.
All right.
Speaking of newer movies, I did catch a couple other newer ones. Jimmy and Stiggs. Scott came over last weekend and brought his Blu-ray of that with, and I liked it a lot more than the Christmas Terminator movie that was the last one he did. I thought that was kind of, But yeah, this one was. I mean, I know he shot it in his apartment during COVID, so it had that in common with Something in the Dirt by Benson and Moorhead, except on totally opposite ends of the spectrum, where that one was like quiet and weird and introspective, and this was just insane and splattery and screamy the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah, he must have very
yeah.
understanding neighbors.
Well, and a landlord because he rents and the
And he
apartment's
trashed that. Yeah.
yeah, the place is still like that now.
Good. See, that was actually in my notes. I was just going to say, I like to think he just left it like that.
Yep.
And it makes me happy that he did. And also, I couldn't tell what the movie was because the clip was too short, but I totally recognized the star of the porno that he's watching toward the beginning. That was Kate
Of
Parker.
course. Doesn't it seem like Joe Bigos would be cool to hang out with, though?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure he and I have very similar taste in movies, judging,
Yeah.
and music, too, judging by the posters on his walls.
You both are
and-
just like best friends with Eli Roth, too. So
Ew. I take it all back. Fuck that. When Mono Macabro recently reissued Mystics in Bali on Blu-ray, and included on that was something that was not on their previous version because they didn't know that the footage existed at the time, or at least didn't have access to it. There is a 2-hour-long cut of that movie. And pretty much everything that's added is character stuff. So while you don't get more wild monster scenes, it helps the wild monster scenes have more weight because you spend more time just kind of hanging out with the two main characters. Because Does anyone here remember anything about that movie but the flying head sucking the baby out of the pregnant woman?
The sounds it makes.
And the cackling witch?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this, you actually get a break from all the insanity, and those lulls do kind of help make it feel like I mean, I fucking love that movie no matter what. And I don't, if I was going to sit down and watch again, I'd probably just watch the shorter version. But it's cool to have this longer version and be able to see the differences and kind of just spend a little more time in the world so the story feels like it matters instead of just jumping from one effect sequence to the next.
And as of right now, it's only $20 on Amazon.
Yeah, it's well worth, and it's a double feature. It comes with it's a 2-pack with that and Susanna's Queen of Black Magic.
Sweet.
Yeah, Mondo Macabro does awesome stuff. Anything you get from them, you're gonna enjoy. I watched Heresy on Shudder. That was a neat little Dutch folk horror flick. I thought it was new to this year because they just got it, but apparently it's from like 22 or 23. It's visually really beautiful and it's very well acted, but it kind of like going back to the Mystics in Bali, it needed that extra character stuff to make the world feel lived in and make you care more about the characters, because the horror lacks some impact because you like the overall theme of the, you know, crush the patriarchy kind of stuff. You're with it all the way on that, but you just don't get enough time to care about these specific people, if that makes sense. But it's still really good. Totally worth checking out. And like I said, it's only an hour long, so you're not out much. I watched a flick called Deluge. This is on YouTube. You can find. It's a really interesting kind of part disaster movie, part post-apocalypse movie from RKO Studios. It came out in 1933, the same year as King Kong. And at the time, RKO was kind of going through a change to doing more modestly budgeted movies, so it's kind of interesting that they had these two really big effects heavy movies come out the same year. But the story is a series of extreme weather phenomena culminating in this huge flood destroys most of civilization, and the big effects piece of this movie is this tsunami leveling New York City. And, you know, 1933, it's all models. There's not much trick photography here. It's just all these really cool miniatures getting destroyed by this huge wave. And this guy named Martin loses his wife and kids in the flood, ends up building a new home for himself because you know, he's just living in this sort of floodplain that used to be New York City. And meanwhile, this woman named Claire survives the flood because she was a champion swimmer. But of course, you know, she's a young, pretty girl, so she gets captured by these two hooligans, and then you get this sort of... Have you guys ever seen the Roger Corman movie Last Woman on Earth?
Yes.
Kind of goes in that direction for a little bit. She eventually escapes while the two hooligans are fighting over her and meets up with Martin, who the one hooligan kills the other, and the surviving one comes after her. Martin protects her, but eventually he winds up finding a settlement of people, and his wife and kids are there. And so of course he met this Claire and they've fallen in love, but he can't just abandon his children and his wife. So he winds up going back with them, and the movie ends with Claire in a fit of desperation swimming off into the ocean to drown.
Dang.
It gets more depressing from there. Have any of you seen a Rainer Werner Fassbinder movie?
Nope.
Do you
Not that I'm
know? Are
aware
you
of.
familiar with the name?
No.
It's a German director, like an art house director from the 70s. Sam Deegan's Eros Plus Massacre podcast just recently talked about him, and I'd never seen one of his movies. I was always kind of curious, knew who he was, but they were raving about this one called In a Year with 13 Moons. So this is about a trans woman named Elvira who used to be a butcher named Erwin, and there's an extended and extremely unpleasant sequence in a cattle slaughterhouse. So Erwin meets this powerful man named Anton, and they fall in love. But Anton said he'd really only love Erwin if he was a woman. So he goes to another country and gets this back alley sex change. And when she comes back, Anton was like, blows her off. I was just kidding. I didn't really mean that. So she is now stuck having left a wife and kid to become a woman and be with this guy. So she's living with this other dude who took her in and working as a sex worker. So the movie opens with her getting the shit beat out of her by a bunch of guys who find out that she used to be a man.
Oh, man.
And then this guy leaves her, and so the movie is her revisiting all these different people and parts of her life. She goes and talks to, sees her former wife and kid, and eventually, after going back through her life story, she kills herself. And that sounds depressing enough, but you really, like, this is one of those movies you have to see to understand just how harrowing and unpleasant it is. It's kind of like taking a belt sander to your emotional well-being for 2 hours.
Fun.
Needless to say, I thought it was great.
Yep.
And we'll wrap up with a little bit of smut to lighten things up.
Yay.
There are a couple of new not new, but new to American home video, at least in a decent format, Jess Franco movies. Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun, which is about a girl taken to a convent and forced into nunnery, only to discover the convent is actually a satanic cult. This is a surprisingly coherent movie from Jess Franco. Maybe having the social commentary element helped hold his attention, because usually his movies are kind of all over the map and don't necessarily always make a whole lot of sense. But this is actually a really straightforward narrative, and although clearly not high on budget, it was really well done. And then Satanic Sisters, which is about a woman who keeps her nymphomaniac sister locked up and supplied with men so she can gaslight her into a state of horny hysteria and steal her inheritance. And this is much more in the spaz jazz style of filmmaking that you would expect from Franco. Unfortunately, even though the movie isn't that long, the repetitive sex scenes tend to really bog it down. And speaking of sex scenes, the last movie I'll talk about tonight is Come Blow the Horn, also known as Fabodienta. This is a hardcore flick that Joe Sarno made while he lived with his wife Peggy in Sweden. And over there, like this was, I can't remember what year it was, 73, 74 maybe. It was as famous there as Deep Throat is here. Like, you go up to any Swedish person and they'll probably at least have heard of this movie. It's pretty well acted for smut, although it's too long at 2 hours, and it's subtitled, so imagine watching a 2 hours subtitled smut movie. But this line from the commentary track, I think, sums it up perfectly. It's just vanilla sex, apart from the fisting and the sausage, of course. And that's what I watched.
All right.
That on a t-shirt.
I'm guessing Jason won't have the same things on his list. Jason, what have you watched?
Oh, not even close. So I did watch 3 movies since last time. One I had to watch by myself because it's 3.5 hours long.
Jesus.
And Tiffany was like,
Project Hail Mary?
Nope, I'm out. No, we loved that one. It was so fucking good. But this one, she hadn't seen any others, and I love the series. So I had to just watch it by myself, which was fine. But I also loved it, and it was the great third part of a trilogy, maybe a little bit more, I don't know. But Avatar, Fire and Ash.
Oh,
I loved
3.5 hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
198 minutes, I guess, whatever that is. It was awesome. I loved it. It didn't feel like that to me. I think I love the series. I think it's great. Give me all the fantasy stuff. It was wonderful. All these got 4 stars. Cool. We did go out to the theater. We watched Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu.
Okay.
Loved it.
Cool, okay.
Mandalorian, I love the show. I love Star Wars. I love being in that universe, too. You hear the music. You see a laser blast.
Yeah.
The stars scroll. You're like, man, I just love it.
And I want to see this one for all the practical effects. I mean, there's fucking
Yeah.
Phil Tippett stop motion in this again.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It's so great. And Tiff, she started, I don't think she made it through the first season when it was out. So she had a clue, but like didn't know. And like,
Well, I heard it stands on its own.
it does. It definitely stands on its own. Like you would hope a movie from a series would. But I should have known, but like, man, she loved it. Why? Grogu's the cutest goddamn thing you've ever seen.
Always.
Oh, he just melts you. It's so great. He's amazing and love it. And then we watched a new film from Yorma with Jason Segel and Samara Weaving called Over
Hell
Your
yeah.
Dead Body.
Fuck yeah.
Man, it was so good. But like, and it has Timothy Olyphant in it, who I didn't realize was in it till he pops up. I'm like, holy shit. And like, I knew that was Keith Jardine too. But anyway, it's a movie that can't be good because it tells you what happens. Like I don't know how to explain it.
It starts at the end.
Well, the concept, and it tells you right there, a dysfunctional couple heads to a remote cabin to reconnect, but each has the secret intentions to kill the other one.
Oh, sounds fun.
So neat and fun and cool, and it goes back and forth, and it's bloody and gross and awesome, and hijinks ensue. And and Jason Segel in it, just seeing him in this kind of serious he's all Jason Segel at all times because he's great. And I also loved it because Samara Weaving, we all love her.
Yeah.
But she gets to like use her normal voice, her with the accent in it.
Oh, nice.
So it's just nice to. I feel like she got to.
They write it into the story. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So it's clever, it's cute, it's gory, and a lot of fun. And Yorma directed it, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I watched.
All right, Mikey, how about you?
All right. Continuing my mission to watch more Italian films, I watched The Psychic from 1977, also known as Murder to the Tune of the Seven Black Notes, also known as Death Tolls Seven Times. This is another giallo from Lucio Fulci. And we all know how much I love Lucio Fulci. This one, it's just okay. I've already forgotten most of it. Just didn't stick with me. Felt more like a TV movie. Like his later films, right, Brian?
Yeah.
So plot is Virginia, who claims to have supernatural abilities, discovers a skeleton in a wall of her husband's house and is determined to figure out the truth about what happened. Probably the biggest. It's really talky and kind of slow. But the biggest takeaway for me is this film, much like Don't Torture a Duckling, has an awesome falling off a cliff scene with close-ups of a person's face getting ripped off every time it hits a rock on the way down. Man, when Fulci finds something he likes, he sticks with it.
How about eyeball violence? Does it have that?
Didn't have any eyeball violence, and that's the problem. The Italians famously use a lot of during this era especially, a lot of quick push-in zooms in their films of this era. This one has a lot of that. Joe Lynch's Letterboxd review was my favorite, where he calls this movie snap zoom porn. I also watched Send Help from this year, the Sam Raimi movie with Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. Rachel McAdams is amazing. She's unrecognizable in this role. And when she's in complete survival mode, that's like the most fun stuff to watch. I could just watch a movie of her, building shelters and starting fires and all that stuff. I do enjoy the film, and it's definitely a great Sam Raimi film. Is it my favorite Sam Raimi film? No, not by a long shot. And the more this movie sat with me, the more I think I did like it. Definitely better than my Letterboxd review. But I still can't... It still bothers me there's no real character arc in this movie, especially for the Bradley Preston character. And you keep getting the rug pulled out from underneath you. It's like, okay, he's finally starting, his arc is happening. He's finally starting to come around and not be such a selfish asshole. And then it's like, it's just a front every single time. So he never really truly learns anything, and you just kind of want him to die. But it takes forever for him to die. So I think the movie, structurally and story-wise, has some issues, but it's still really a lot of fun. So I'm the type of guy that can watch 70s Italian giallo films 1 minute and then dumb comedy for children based on a children's cartoon that no kid in the 90s has any idea who the hell it is. And I'm talking about Dudley Do-Right from 1999. So I just love
I
seeing...
forgot there was a live action movie of that.
Yeah. I just love seeing Brendan Fraser doing silly comedies. I can't help myself. I thought this was okay and fun, but it's definitely no George of the Jungle. That's like the benchmark for that kind of stuff, in my opinion. So that was okay. And then as far as the rewatch goes, I rewatched Troma's War from 1988. And I really like this one. It has like the total utter chaos of the later Troma films, but is void of all the really dumb poop and fart jokes that plague films like Toxie 4 or Poultrygeist. Instead, its humor relies on what I feel like Troma used to do the best, which was over-the-top violence, depravity that is played straight with a world of characters that are just bizarre and don't fit into that environment. This film also continues the lesser-known theme of blind characters. There is a blind girl in this movie who, by the end of the film, turns into a gun-toting survivalist. So figure that one out. So Troma seems to always include blind characters. For some reason, it is something that has fascinated me of late in thinking about Troma's catalog. I mean, Toxic Avenger's girlfriend is blind in every version of Troma's Toxic Avenger, like all 4 films, the cartoon, any of it, she's always blind. And then even in like Terra Firma, Lloyd Kaufman himself plays a blind movie director. So there's always a theme of blindness in Lloyd's films. Anyway, that's what I watched. Tad, what about you?
Like I said, I have been to the theater 3 times, and I also saw Obsession, obviously. I talked about it. I loved it. Thought it was fantastic. Terrible theater experience, but I thought at first, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't, stereotype. It's like, brings in a much younger audience. They're all excited, but I thought maybe waiting would be better, but I feel like if I saw it like opening weekend, those people really want to see something, so they're going to pay more attention and be more quiet. But
Well, it seems like if a theater is packed, it works out okay. And if a theater is just like you and maybe one other person, it's okay. But the worst is when you get, and it's like maybe a third full.
yeah.
Feels like that's when the assholes come out the worst.
Well, yeah, I finally got sick of this. I counted like 9 phones at one point, and I got up
Jesus.
and waited in the hallway for like a really quiet part of the movie, and went up to this row of it's like 2 guys, 2 girls that were sitting right in front of us, and I like was loud, but I was polite, but I was very loud, and just sort of said, would you please put your phones away and be quiet? And I think I scared the shit out of them more than the movie. So
Awesome.
They kept looking over their shoulders at me to see if I was watching. I was like looking right back at them. So
Fuck
yeah.
Get him.
Yeah, so that was, but I love the movie. It didn't, I mean, that, even with a bad theater experience, I'm so glad that it's doing so well, because it was supposed to hit streaming on Tuesday, and they've decided not to because it's still making a ton of money. I can't believe like a $700,000 indie horror movie is beating a Star Wars movie in theaters.
This is where I get on the soapbox, and I'm just like, when is freaking Hollywood going to learn that you don't have to dump $1 billion into a film? You don't have to milk the teat of an AI for all it's worth in order to get a money-making film. I mean, it's been proven so many times over the last several years.
Say Roger Corman spent his entire goddamn life teaching him that lesson over and over again.
But is it? Yeah, but you're talking about capturing something in the zeitgeist. I'm sure the movie's good, but like, it's popular for other reasons that you cannot replicate. So you can't blame Hollywood for not being able to do this thing that no one can actually replicate anyway. I'm defending Star Wars. Sorry, I don't know what
I'm not even. It's not even just necessarily Star Wars. I mean, I can cite several examples. That year the more money-making clown film wasn't Joker 2. It was freaking Terrifier 3. It's just one of many examples of these more independent films that are getting a break by getting all this great theatrical play, and it's amazing and it's awesome because we haven't seen films of these budget levels of this independence getting such massive. When they come to like small little crap town Iowa towns, it's something's it's somebody's doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on a Wednesday, 3 weeks into release, and it was a packed theater. This movie, it went, how most movies, they come out, next weekend, it's like a pretty big drop, and then the following weekend's another big drop. This movie went up 40% second weekend and up another 10% on its third week. That doesn't happen. Mandalorian dropped 40% in its second weekend, but...
it's word of mouth. That's how it works. But
yeah,
it's great.
I mean... and word of mouth got around about Mandalorian. But I don't know. To me, it feels like
which is also exciting. Like I feel like word of mouth hasn't affected the theater experience in a long time either, because movies don't last long in theaters anymore.
And I might be completely off here because I am definitely not an expert, but like to me, it felt like they've been really lost. Disney has been really lost with what to do with Star Wars. So they pretty much just shut it down, and we're making these series on Disney Plus, and we're going to see what sticks and what people like. Okay, people really like Mandalorian and, Grogu, the Baby Yoda. We got to do something with that. Okay, let's make a movie. And then they took 3 years to get it on the screen, and by then people are over it. You know what I mean? Like, they were trying to capture that meme on the big screen, and from what I'm hearing, I haven't seen it, so I'm not saying this as a fact, but everyone's like, this is just a long episode of The Mandalorian. Like, they could have
wasn't it originally going to be another season that they then decided to strip down and turn into a movie instead? I was thinking I read that somewhere. I could be wrong, but
also I feel like theatrical windows, when people are like, I know this is going to be on Disney Plus in 4 weeks. Why am I spending $20 a ticket when I can wait for it to hit Disney Plus and watch it at home?
But Mandalorian's also fighting against, and again, I haven't seen it either, so I don't know whether it is any good on its own or not. I thought the show started out strong and kind of fell off, which could be part of the problem too. But it's also, you got this big bloated studio thing it's like trying to turn an oil tanker around in the middle of the ocean. It takes for fucking ever, and you need miles and miles to do it, whereas you're talking about a tiny little independent horror movie made for next to nothing budget wise these days, with just a few people. And so it's fast and lean and mean, and you get it out there. And also people are like, so like you saying Disney didn't know what to do with Star Wars stuff. Well, their initial reaction was to let's flood the fucking market and make everyone sick of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that is not doing it any favors either.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Curry Barker's next movie is already wrapped and it's done. It's in the can. They just have to release it, and then he's going to start filming Texas Chainsaw soon. Like, they basically are offering him, sort of like Zach Krager. They're like, here's our dump truck full of money to get your script. Where should we put it? What do you want to make? Giving him freedom. But I think it also is sort of like a passing of the torch of like, this is like, when I was that age in high school, it was the Scream movies, and then everybody replicated the Scream movies, and there was I Know What You Did Last Summer, and just all those pretty face slasher movies for a bit. And it's like, this is the new. Then we had elevated horror, A24, and now we have this thing of like YouTubers making horror movies. And my next example, because I'll move on from Obsession.
I was just going to say, and will Hollywood ever figure it out, or will it remain an unsolved mystery?
And then I saw Back Rooms the next night, and that theater was completely sold out. Like, I had
Wow.
strangers on both sides of me, and I was sort of like, obviously we did it on the show. We watched Backrooms, but I am not like a diehard. Watched it from the beginning, know the lore, but it has that kind of fan base. And like I was the old guy in the theater, which was cool as hell. And I was worried. I was like, last night was a really bad experience. I saw it the very next night from Obsession, and I'm ready to like crack fucking skulls because I'm like, this movie is liminal space movie. It's gonna be. I know it's gonna be really quiet and it's gonna rely on atmosphere and tense.
Yeah.
And you could hear a fucking needle drop in that theater. Everyone there
Nice.
was a Backrooms fan, so they came and they all were hyper focused. No phones. Nobody got up to pee. Nobody was, shuffling through their popcorn. Everybody was fucking scared,
That's great.
which was just a cool theater experience. And to experience that with everybody and just know like these, and I probably am again being making assumptions, but like the two guys, there was a guy to the right of me, a stranger, and then a dude on the left of Nikki. And because I bought two seats thinking in the middle, thinking, no one's going to buy a single seat next to me and on the other side because they're reserved seats. But guess what? The kind of people who sit at their house and watch all the lore about Backrooms, they don't have friends. So they're coming to the theater by themselves. And they might not be the most, hygienic people, but they sure love this shit and they're going to stay quiet and focused and shut the fuck up and put their phones away. So props to them. They made out to the theater, and that movie's A24's highest grossing movie of all time.
Whoa.
It made its budget back on Thursday previews.
Damn.
Just cool as hell. They're, already in development for a sequel, and I don't remember the director's name off the top of my head. He's the youngest director to ever have like a #1 movie in opening weekend because he was 19 when he directed. He's 20 now.
Yeah.
Is Parsons?
Kane. Yeah.
Kane
Maybe it is Parsons. Yeah.
Something like that. But he's cool as hell too. And like, I had to go like look and see how they did it, and like, just so cool. Like, I just love the idea. It is a little bit apples and oranges because it's like, but I don't know. But because we talked about like Mark Pyler earlier, he did Iron Lung.
Yeah.
But like he took his game and adapted it, and then we did that again with Backrooms, where Curry Barker, like, he didn't go make a feature length Milk and Cereal. He's like, okay, I got this popular thing, I showed what I can do, and Backrooms is so crazy because Parsons, like, he never shot a single thing for Backrooms. It's all digital. He sat at his computer and made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like A24 hands him, a couple $1 million, and he's behind a camera now for the first time. And so there's speculation that he didn't even direct it because Oz Perkins was the producer, and they're like, the whole Spielberg and Toby Hooper, and they're like, he directed it. And the dude that's in Creep, Duplass.
Mark Duplass.
Yeah, he came out and because he's in the movie, and he's like, this Discord is so stupid. You weren't there. I was there. He was in control of the set. He knew exactly all the details he wanted. This is absolutely his movie. Shut up about it. And so,
I mean, the kid's been, making those videos and developing this lore for years now. And so, yeah, he's got to have a complete, clear vision of what the film would be.
but I was very curious how that would flesh out into like, it's way different when you're making a 12-minute YouTube video on your computer, and then now you're filming a movie where it has to have a story and performances and
not only that, but the Backrooms comes from that
creepypasta
subgenre. Well, originally, yeah, the original like photo and story, which wasn't Parsons, by the way. But what I'm talking about is part of that subgenre of analog horror, where all those movies in that subgenre, or all those shows in that subgenre, really rely on the degeneration of the quality of the film. So my concern is like, is it still going to hold the same feelings I get watching these YouTube videos versus a nice, clean looking, film on a big screen that's not necessarily always in first person.
Right. Yeah. It was, like I said, I was sort of optimistic going in, but I also, like I said, I'm not like huge in the lore and everything. I was just wanted a good horror movie, and they really nailed this one too. And obviously, it's making a ton of money too. So really cool to see these young directors coming in doing their thing with, itty bitty budgets, and really cool. And then the final thing I'll talk about is an animated movie I watched at the Capitol. It's called Mars from the Whitest Kids You Know. I don't know if anybody remembers the Whitest Kids You Know.
Kids You Know, yeah.
They were a sketch comedy group in the mid to late 2000s, and absolutely hilarious. And they had started working on an animated movie, and then their leader of their troupe, Trevor, died. He fell off a balcony and went splat, and so they were this movie sort of got stopped. Like, he hadn't finished his voice work, and it sat forever. And finally, last year, actually in 2024, I think they finally wrapped it up, and it hit like one festival and didn't get distribution, so they've decided just to do it on their own. And we play at the Capitol, and it's actually really hilarious. It's about this guy who's engaged, but he's having that midlife thing where he's like, I wake up every morning and I go to my job and I go home to my fiance, and life's so boring. And then they are like a very much Elon Musk coded guy is like, well, I'm going to take a group of normal people to Mars. And he's like, this is my chance to leave my mark on the world. And he decides to go, but it's on his wedding day, and his wife, his fiance is like a huge bitch. And it's really funny because it's like the group of weirdos he ends up in Mars with are total, like, one's like a really big Jesus freak, and one is this lady who, this is really sad, but she was like born, and then her parents locked her in the basement until she was like in her 40s, and then they like died, and they found this 40-year-old woman in the basement who's never seen sunlight, so they decided to take her to Mars. And so hilarity ensues, obviously, because she's like, she doesn't know what a dog is. It's hilarious, but it's really, really, really funny, really inappropriate. It would make some of us blush, I would say, but I hope it hits streaming soon, just because it's really funny. It reminds me of like 90s animation, like Beavis and Butthead style stuff. Simple, sort of crude actual animation, but the story is really, really funny. So that's what I watched.
All right. Thank you, Tad. Now let's get into our topic. It's time to talk about Unsolved Mysteries. Tad, what is the first episode we're going to talk about today?
Our first episode is the Halloween 1988 special.
Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you're about to see is not a news broadcast.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries, ordinary people who claim they've seen extraordinary things. A boy's radio is turned on by an unseen hand. 9 months later, unexplained forces drove his family from their home. At an inn near Philadelphia, the head waitress sees a Revolutionary War soldier on the main staircase. In Atlanta, Georgia, the peaceful retirement of an elderly couple has been shattered by unexplained noises and apparitions. And on the Queen Mary, dozens of eyewitnesses claim they have seen or heard ghosts. Last month, parapsychologists tape-recorded phantom sounds of what some believe is a shipwreck that took place 40 years earlier.
So first, I just want to say before we dig into these segments, I mean, the creepiest fucking theme song. So cool.
It's the music
yeah.
that makes this show.
Makes the
Yeah.
whole show. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so great.
And I watched this growing up when I was a youngin'. I mean, when this aired, I was only 3 years old, so I don't obviously remember this one. But I wasn't trying to do that. But I have like memories of watching this and Rescue 911 and America's Most Wanted and Cops, and growing up in our house, like we had one TV in the living room. My parents would turn off the lights and watch the show, and they would chain smoke. So it was like Robert Stack was in my living room because there was so much fucking cigarette smoke. It was like fog, and it scared the shit out of me, man. Like
Yeah.
these reenactments, and then probably I don't know, 5 or so years later, maybe 6 or 7 years, 6, 7. Pluto started. They had like a Unsolved Mysteries channel, and so Nikki and I found ourselves like with time on our hands during quarantine. It was like, let's just throw it on, and a random episode would be on. And I mean, it's all the Robert Stack ones, and so we would just like watch like 5 or 6 hours of this thing, and just so cool, like seeing all this. So, but this particular episode was sort of a Halloween special, and for some reason they didn't re-air it. It was not put into syndication like the other episodes, so you can't find it. Actually, it's on the Internet Archive, but it's not on the series with the rest of them. But it is one of the most infamous episodes because of some of these segments. So, do you guys remember any of these? Like when you rewatched it, were you like, I forgot about that?
This episode in particular, as I'm watching it, it was all coming back to me. I do remember this one. Now, Tad, like, I have a theory on why this one's probably impossible to find. I don't know if you have any trivia on.
I don't. Go ahead.
Well, because the first season really wasn't a season. These were all just specials, and then it became a series after that.
Okay.
So it wasn't a regular TV series. It was just individual specials that they would air,
Gotcha.
and then it got picked up for a series.
Well, I'm not going to go necessarily in order. I'm just sort of going to go in like my least favorite to favorite, probably. I thought the General Wayne Inn one, that segment, was cool. Spirits from the 1800s are at a restaurant and inn. I just didn't like. The guy sees the head on top of the thing. That reenactment was pretty funny. Like,
It's hilarious. That made it my favorite because
he sees the head and he just keeps going. Then later he's like, "Was that a head on top of a cabinet?"
well, the look on the head's face
Yeah.
too, so
He has
freaking funny.
A bad fake mustache and a like open mouth. Yeah.
Kind of looked like John Machida a little bit.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
almost had 2 Transformers in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one was sort of. I mean, they're all these are really cool, but that one was to me like the least scary, probably.
Oh, for sure. Well,
Yeah,
it doesn't
'cause
help.
The ghosts are harmless.
Right.
It doesn't help too that like the main guy, I can't remember if he was manager or what, was just like that he actually found it amusing. And
Yeah, the guy who runs the bar, he's like, oh, as soon as somebody started acting funny, I knew the ghosts were here, and they would run around and blow
Go
on
down
all the
the bar.
women's necks and
Yeah.
make them mad at the guys. Also, why did the parking valet have an orange jumpsuit like he was an escaped convict?
They were shooting a lot of reenactments that day, okay? And
Maybe not the best uniform for someone your customers are supposed to trust with their cars.
here's my keys. And then I would say out of this episode, that the General Wayne Inn is the one that doesn't get talked about. Like the other 3, whenever you bring up on Reddit or anywhere where people, Facebook groups, all this stuff about Unsolved Mysteries, people talk about the other 3 segments. So the ghosts of the Queen Mary, which was a big ship that apparently had fucking ghosts from wall to wall. They had a ghost that was an old 1950s flapper jumping into the water. They would see ghosts just walking around the ship, all kinds of stuff. And some scary stuff too. But even like hearing, I mean, the Queen Mary just sounds eerie, right? Like,
yeah.
They're hearing noises. Is this the one where they try to like capture audio? Was it in the Queen Mary?
They claim to actually have audio that they
Yeah.
played on the show, and yeah.
I mean, it felt like a lot of these episodes, they're like, And for the very first time, we're going to debut this audio. And obviously, this was before, Sci-Fi Channel was overrun with ghost hunters. And
Yeah.
I imagine at home, if you were watching this, you were like, holy shit, did you hear that? And now it's like, roll your eyes, silly. But
Well, what's kind of interesting about it is that clip that they play was back in '88 was way more clear and audible than any of the more high-tech equipment playbacks you hear on any of those ghost hunter shows.
yeah.
And plus it's a big ship. Like, kudos to them to get such clear audio.
And some of the reenactments are pretty cool. Like when they did the girl jumping into the pool, like how they made her like grayscale
Yeah.
and like see through. I mean, it's 1988 and it's network TV, and it's still pretty damn cool and eerie. And like you said, Robert Stack narrating, and then they're talking to these employees and guests, and they're all telling their stories. I think in an instance like this, when like a ship gets a reputation,
Yeah.
it's probably a lot of people like really wanting to see something, or chalking something that couldn't, that could just be a coincidence up as a ghost. But still a really cool story. And the Queen Mary, that's, people really, really talk about that one.
Well, to defend the skeptics out there, Jason, be the fact that just being on that ship alone would just be scary enough as it is.
Right.
So obviously your mind is also going to, trick you into things. So that could be part of it. Speaking from the skeptic side.
Yeah. Everything on every episode is, if you think it, you will hear it or see it. If you look, you will find. That's what it all is. But that's my 2 cents. But man, that theme song's awesome, though. God dang. Tiffany was like, yeah, I used to drive by Queen Mary all the time. And she was out there in Cal. She knew exactly what that was.
That's
She
cool.
remembers seeing it every day.
That's
No
really cool.
thanks.
She never been on it.
No, I asked. She was like, And then I used to want bunk beds, too, before this one. But
I was gonna say, the next one I'm gonna talk about is the Tatum house, which is the old couple from Florida,
Yeah.
and that's another very popular one. Like if you Google like scariest Unsolved Mysteries segments, Tatum house, and then the final one I'm going to talk about, along with the Queen Mary, come up. And it's so cool. Like Halloween episode, we have all these ghost ones compiled into one episode, but we have this Florida retired couple who are harboring a ghost roommate in their home. Jim and Kay Tatum, coins falling into a bowl, a mechanic drill turning on by itself, ringing of bells throughout the house. The woman saw someone walk past the bedroom door, and then months passed by, and she thought her husband, Jim, was playing a prank because there was a drill in the hallway. And when she went out, the drill wasn't plugged in, but she heard it clear as day, and thought Jim was messing with her. I don't think in this one they ever really got like hurt or anything, just freaked out in their home.
Yeah. Elderly couple. It's kind of that one got me in the feels, especially when he started choking up about the bell thing. And,
Right.
And his own wife's like, I've never seen him like this.
And it's tough to like, be like, they're full of shit. Like, and Jason sort of said, like, it's, I don't know. It's like, I don't think they're lying. I think they really might believe, because I'm a big skeptic. The ghost one, the next one we're going to talk about, absolutely. But this one, I don't know. But when you have like genuine, like normal everyday people that aren't, like what your local news broadcast catches in the street after a robbery or a fire or something. These are just normal people trying to live their lives.
Especially elderly people, like
Yeah.
but like living at home, not like senile elderly people.
Yes.
Like that
Yeah,
dude
yeah.
probably fought in World War II.
Yeah, and obviously with like a drill, he's just doing a
He's-
handyman around a
you know,
house.
he's seen some shit, so
Yeah.
he's not going to be like easily spooked by stuff. But like, you know, Jason also said, like, you're going to find what you're looking for if you're really looking, and maybe there's just something in their life that they needed some solace from. But yeah, they seemed very of all the people, you know, because they, like you said, they try to use the real people in the reenactments where they can. These two seemed the most honest.
Yeah.
Like, nothing to gain from it, no tourism dollars to bring in like the hotel or the Queen Mary, just a couple telling their story.
I'd say if there was any dishonesty in that one, it would be if it was me and I was the husband, it would be about the bell thing. Because that bell would probably piss me off on a daily basis. And I would probably make up the story of like, hey, the bell was ringing on its own. We had to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry.
Maybe
had to
that's what
toss it.
choked him up. He was just so excited he finally got rid of that fucking bell.
Oh, but this last segment is probably the most infamous of the whole series. Like, people really love this one and talk about it, and it's the Tallman's ghost, which is a haunted bunk bed. So apparently, like, this lives in infamy in the minds of a lot of 80s kids. They always mention this one. I think it's because there's kids in the episode. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's kids that were harmed, and these ghosts were not nice. Like, the other ones were playing pranks or putting a head on a cabinet or blowing on the next. These ghosts were not nice. This family buys this bunk bed, and then everything goes bad. Apparently haunted as the family's children begin experiencing severe illness, whisperings of death threats from beyond the grave, visions of arson to their own home. The dad comes home late one night from work, and he thinks the garage is on fire. He sees glowing. It's apparently the bunk bed from hell. But I like I said, I don't like, after watching these, I feel like I remember the head on the general weighing in.
How can you forget that? Come on.
But I don't like when I was reading about these, I was like, I feel like I've seen the ghost of Queen Mary, but everybody's like, and like I said, I think it's because there's children that like are hearing voices and shit, and the Tallman's ghost is why so many kids remember it from the 80s, watching it and thinking like, oh God, I have a bunk bed in my room. You know, and siblings, like, they could relate to it, where most kids aren't going to a big ship or a inn, or can't relate to this old couple. But this one was pretty creepy, and yeah, I felt for the family, because it seemed like it really wreaked some havoc on them. You know, it's definitely felt like sort of Conjuring style, where they're like, you know, we got to get the fuck out of this house, and then it's really the bunk bed in the house. But lesson learned, like, don't pick up a used bunk bed and bring it in. Buy new furniture, I guess. I don't know. What'd you guys think of this segment?
In the intro, Robert Stack talks about how the radio was turned on by an unseen hand. If it's unseen, how do we know it was a hand?
Maybe the ghost turned the radio on with its dick.
That's what I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
That's how we
he
all
could
do
use
it.
he could use his teeth, whatever.
I mean, it was a good segment. You know, so some of the reenactments, just in general, of this whole series, you know, it was the 80s. It was network television. You know, budgets are low. They're going to look kind of cheesy.
But the garage fire,
The garage fire is my prime example of that.
Yeah.
Talk about taking you out of it. But what works with the show is just the utter sincerity of Robert Stack's narration and the interviews and everything is what still keeps you in it, what makes these segments creepy. That and the music. So it was an okay segment, and then like it's also interesting that it's an extremely religious family.
Yeah.
So
which
fill in the blanks.
kind
on that
of
as
leans
well.
more towards this is bullshit because religious hysteria, you know, like they're,
the devil came in this bunk bed.
Yeah, like something so like something really fucked
Yeah,
up
yeah.
happened in this family, and they all just blamed it on the devil. Is kind of the impression I got from it.
I mean, the lengths people will go to try to get a refund.
Right?
Did you guys ever have a bunk bed?
No.
I got one in my house right now.
I
I
had
had
no
one.
reason to
Yeah.
because there was
Simon's-
only
yeah.
one of me.
Yeah,
I had
me
a
and
lot
my
of
brother
friends who
had
them,
one.
though.
Yeah, my brother had the bottom bunk, and it was a that like would go to like a futon and down to a bed, and I had the top, and hated that. But it definitely wasn't haunted, so I guess we got lucky.
It probably is now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, wherever it's at. Well, it's actually still at my dad's house, I think. But if a ghost was at my dad's house, God, that would be the best Unsolved Mysteries episode. He'd just be so annoyed by it. He would just,
Just be
He
an
would not be
episode of
scared.
Stand Against Evil.
yeah, he'd get the fuck out of my house. Leave me alone. Same things he says to his kids.
Oh. I don't know, guys. Like, I'm so skeptical that I think it's adorable that because a TV show tells you that these are real stories with real people, that you believe it. And that that's not just all actors and scripts.
Didn't
I mean, come on,
Ultra
guys.
Magnus's scary bedtime stories didn't have any effect on you?
No.
Didn't.
I mean-
there was a
So what are you trying to say, Jason? Like, you think that Unsolved Mysteries reach out to people and wrote these stories?
I don't even know if they're I mean, they're just stories. I'm just saying, because they told you they were real people, it doesn't mean that they are. I don't.
Well, I will say now, if you're listening to this and you want more, there's a fantastic documentary, and it's free on YouTube, and it's not even like, it's like an hour long, but it shows how this show came to be. I mean, I know we're talking about like skeptical stuff, but when they're finding like people who actually got murdered or people who did murder someone and run away, like, they're real stories.
Right, and that's like we kind of had this discussion to lift the curtain a little bit about, do we want to talk about some of the true crime ones, or should we stick to the ooky spooky supernatural and paranormal stuff? And we all kind of decided these ones were way more fun. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of bit us in the ass in the last one, but we'll get to that eventually.
And it does remind me, my other favorite part of the show is the recap or the like update.
Oh, when they do the updates, yeah.
That's a cool.
Which is so crazy too, because like you watch them on Pluto, and it's like update, and it was like it's pretty recent. Like they still have like a line open if you are watching an episode and it hasn't,
cool.
and they'll add updates to episodes from 30 years ago.
I
it's
want
pretty,
that. I want to be the operator who still gets paid to run the Unsolved Mysteries line.
It's got to be the easiest job ever.
Yeah, and you can go. They have a website, like an active website that will, like, if you watch an episode and you're like, I wonder what happened with it, you can go look and it will like update, Or if you happen to remember, like, oh man, when I was a kid, I wanted to see if they ever caught that killer. You can go and look, and it will tell you, like, this person, whatever. So
That's wild. Like, America's Most Wanted isn't even still active, is it? Do they still have like a hotline or anything?
I don't know.
And that was
That'd be
100% real stuff,
don't know,
actually
no one's
searching
called
for
me in yet.
criminals.
We'll talk about that on the next episode.
Oh, fuck.
Doing America's Most Wanted.
Well, one of the things that, kind of softens the blow, you could say, a little bit for you skeptics, that I feel like, these segments on Unsolved Mysteries, of anything of the supernatural or paranormal, that it's not like right in your face, like, this is real, believe it. There's still some skepticism.
Because those shows really suck to do that.
Yeah, exactly. But even with the Queen Mary stuff, and they had that paranormal investigator on there, and he straight up says, yeah, I'm a skeptic. I don't believe in this,
And even Robert Stack usually at the end is like, is it really ghosts in this bunk bed or just a paranoid family?
Yeah.
You help solve the mystery or whatever. It's like, he leaves it open too. And it's just fun for me. Like, I don't
sure.
believe in
At
ghosts,
the end of
but
the day, these shows are fun. Yeah.
And tell us the true crime stuff. That's not fun, but yeah.
Well, yeah. And even like the Queen Mary was probably my favorite segment. Probably also too. It's pretty infamous, and I don't know if the show elevated that, but I know I've heard the Queen Mary stuff come up in other paranormal conversations on different shows and whatnot. I think even those ghost huntery dudes on Sci-Fi Channel did a Queen Mary episode.
Probably.
But it's cool because like you also get some history in it. I liked seeing the history, that one and the General Wayne Inn. You got some history of those things, which I thought was also added to the enjoyment of the show.
Yeah, and some of the other episodes we're not going to talk about, like, it's funny because there are like history ones where like someone was at war and they never came back and no one ever whatever, but then you have ones that are like a brother and sister who got separated as kids, and now it's like social media would solve that in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like they would go on TV and like some fucker would like scam a bunch of people, change his name and move. And as soon as they air it on TV, all the neighbors are like, oh yeah, that's the asshole doesn't mow his grass next door. Call it in. And they would catch him. It's funny to see some of those because it's like within an hour of airing this episode, it's discovered he was living in Florida, and an anonymous tip said, he had changed his name and grew a mustache. It's like, fuck yeah.
What's everybody's favorite segment from this one?
Probably the old couple.
Okay. Jason.
I mean, I want it to be the Tallman House one and the bunk beds, but the religious part makes me hate it. So the Queen Mary is probably my answer.
Yeah, I'm down with the Queen Mary.
That's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I still like the Tallman's ghost. I think that one is creepy. So
Yeah.
Brian, did you have a favorite?
Yeah.
he said the old people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Which one was that?
The
Tatum House.
Tatum House. Okay. Yeah, I just thought the old people seemed sweet.
Yeah.
I like them.
Any trivia about the show you want to share before we move on to the next
Sure.
segment?
Well, we sort of talked about this a little bit, like minutes ago, but more than 260 mysteries have been solved over the course of the series so far.
That's really cool.
And then you talked a little bit about how this was a special. Raymond Burr hosted the first episode, which aired as a special in January 1987. Then Carl Malden hosted the following 2 specials before Robert Stack took over.
So it started out with a Godzilla connection. That's cool.
I thought I read somewhere in there Jack Palance was a host for a while.
Maybe at some point, because
Yeah.
it's been on so many different networks and yeah.
Okay, then, Jason, what is our next episode?
Next episode, we're going to jump all the way to Season 7, Episode 21. This one's called Mysteries of Alien Beings.
Tonight, a special Unsolved Mysteries report. Mysteries of alien beings. Who are they, and where do they come from? Are they real or imagined? In recent years, hundreds of people have come forward with startling accounts of abduction by alien beings. Even though the descriptions are strikingly similar, there is no hard evidence that such beings actually exist. For many abductees, the memories are triggered by a vivid dream.
I was starting to have nightmares, really terrible nightmares that I could not explain. I found myself in a very brightly lit room. I had no idea where I was or why I was there. To my left, I could see my brother Jim, Chuck Rack, and Charlie Foltz sitting on some type of bench, and they were all naked. And while I'm trying to figure this out, I notice this figure, or a dark, shadowy type figure, emerging from this light, this bright light in front of me. It wasn't like other nightmares where you have just some strange, dumb dream or something, and you forget about it the next day. This would stick with me for days and days. It was like I couldn't think about anything else. I couldn't function. It was horrible.
Not so long ago, it seemed inconceivable that aliens and UFOs had become the topics of everyday conversation. Yet a recent poll revealed that nearly half of all Americans now believe that UFOs are real. In the next hour, a new, in-depth look at what may be the most remarkable phenomenon of our age. We'll take you to Area 51, a top-secret military installation tucked away in the remote Nevada desert. You'll meet a man who claims that he worked near Area 51 and witnessed the test flight of an alien spacecraft. For almost 50 years, the so-called Roswell incident has fascinated and confounded UFO researchers. Tonight, in an exclusive update, a new eyewitness account suggests that the Army did in fact recover the bodies of alien beings in 1947. And the fantastic saga of the Allagash Four, 4 young men who claim that they were abducted by aliens during a camping trip in the Maine wilderness. Their chilling story may seem unbelievable, but more and more people have become convinced that such accounts are based in fact, not fiction. Join us for this special report, Mysteries of Alien Beings.
Extended cut of the theme song.
I thought it was the whole episode there for a minute.
I know. This episode is dedicated to UFO sightings, alleged alien encounters, and people who are absolutely convinced they met visitors from another world. The stories range from strange lights in the sky to close encounters and missing time experiences, all presented with the deadly seriousness that only Robert Stack could bring to material that often boils down to, "Trust me, bro, I saw something weird." Now, I'll admit right up front that I'm a complete skeptic, and when it comes to aliens visiting Earth, do I think intelligent life probably exists somewhere in the universe? Sure. Do I think they've traveled across countless light years to buzz random farms and occasionally traumatize people in pickup trucks? Not so much. Still, whether you believe every word or think there's a more earthly explanation, these stories are entertaining, creepy, and a perfect example of why Unsolved Mysteries remains such a fascinating time capsule of the unexplained.
Thinking of the extended cut of the theme song and how much time we were given to concentrate on it there, when you listen to it and really start paying attention, all the disparate elements don't seem like they should go together, do they? Like, it sounds like a bunch of random sounds. Like, we took this keyboard riff here, and that little drum thing there, and this little bell chime here, but somehow when you put it all together, it's magic.
And I wouldn't be surprised it was Oingo Boingo who did it. So, aliens, guys, I'm out. What do you guys think?
I think maybe the Allagash abductions might be like my favorite segment of all time. It is.
The camper guys?
The four
Yeah,
guys.
the 4 guys, they completely have me convinced this happened. Like, and it gets really weird when he's, they're all nude.
Naked.
Yeah, they're naked. They're on a
And
ship.
they didn't just go out in the woods, get really drunk, fuck each other, and then make up a story so they didn't have to admit it to their wives.
Right?
Exactly what I was going to say.
When I watched it, I was like, definitely felt like Fire in the Sky,
Yeah.
obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But I just love something about like they're showing these like grainy photos of the 4 guys posing in the woods, and they're manly men, and it's like the idea of like they're almost embarrassed to admit this thing happened. And
I'm sure they are.
You guys are gross. But they get hypnotized and they get it's Pride Month, but they get hypnotized and then they all start coming back with these similar stories of each other. Their memories are coming back, but it's weird because they remember this happening, and then just going on with their trip. And they had this big fire on the beach, and it or in the woods, and it just goes out. And I don't know, just the details in this one, like, it had me gripped. That one is especially had me really into it, because I feel like with some of the other ones, like Area 51 and Roswell, like has been done to death. Like, it's sort of become almost it's a tourist site now. It's the Queen Mary in the desert, where it feels like the Allagash abductions feel so genuine, sort of like the old couple, where it's like, I just want to believe these guys that this happened.
Well, my biggest takeaway, my favorite segment was the Area 51 thing. If anything, out of this episode, watching it at this time frame would make me think maybe this is real, is the Area 51 stuff, because they talk about in the late 80s on this show, or early 90s probably at this point, right?
95.
Thank you. As if Roswell may or may not, or not Roswell, sorry, that Area 51 may or may not exist. Like, they're talking about its existence as if the same thing about aliens. They just don't know. Yeah. And we live in a world now that
you can just see it.
People stormed Area 51, like,
well, they talked about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But we all know it exists now. So that gave me second thought. And it was like, oh my God, there was a time frame where the existence of Area 51 was a mystery, and why?
Well, we're at the point now in our world that, like, our president, okay, we're probably going, but he's putting out, like, actual UFO footage to try to make us stop thinking about other things. And it's like, and like, we don't even, it doesn't even make the front page news. Like, we glance at it and we're like, anyways, it's very different world now.
Well, it's so much easier to fake stuff now.
Yeah.
And we have, in 1995, you did not have Google Earth. You could not just look at a satellite image of Area 51 and be like, oh yeah, there's a thing out in the desert. And how many people were actually going to go out in, like, because, I mean, if you go out in the desert, you don't know what you're doing, you're going to die.
Right.
And not from being shot by a guard, just like, dehydration and shit.
It's still a desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, but I'm just saying, like, in my mind, we've all known Area 51 exists, and it's so mysterious. But the fact that, oh yeah, there was a time where we didn't even know if Area 51 was in existence. That's how mysterious it was.
It was itself an unsolved mystery.
And why? Why was this hidden from us all these years?
Well, I mean, we've all seen Independence Day, and we find out because, like, the president, Mr. Bill Pullman, he didn't know about it, and when he shows up, it's like, you've been keeping this from us. It's pretty wild. But this aired in September 1994,
and whatever was actually going on, the fact that they had that, like, local mortician goes to the base, and everybody's reaction to him being there, that he just needed to get out, and then that nurse, is telling him stuff, and then she just disappears off the face of the earth. That's the spooky stuff. That's the stuff that I found really effective in this episode.
Yeah, for sure. Not even the stuff about the aliens, but what the human beings who want to conceal them are capable of doing to other human beings. Yeah. That's much more monstrous.
Yeah, regardless if it has anything to do with aliens or not, that man's story to me was the most terrifying thing out of the whole episode.
Although there was a bit, and I'm pretty sure it was in this segment, where they were talking about, like, there would be traces of these spacecraft or whatever if it took off. And one of the things he's like, and we didn't, there was no patches of motor oil on the ground or anything like that. And my thought was like, you think that a craft capable of interstellar travel
is just going to
be leaking motor oil?
Well, he was also
that would even use oil.
Is this well, yes, but or whatever the equivalent of motor oil would be. But, like, is this the is this UFO that crashed at Roswell like the space travel equivalent of Randy Quaid's RV in Christmas Vacation?
Well, he was a pilot in Independence Day, so
The connection still there.
yeah.
Ah,
But he was also
it
making
all comes together.
he's also making connections like, yeah, there was no evidence of a picnic or whatever he was saying.
Because why?
But it was a great point, though. It's like, yeah, how come there is no, we as gross humans can't go anywhere without leaving crap behind. How can aliens not leave anything behind after all of these years?
A lot of this is people who are super into alien lore like this. You'd like to think the aliens are better than us. I mean, they're clearly more technologically advanced if they can
Yes.
fly from planet to planet. But your hope is also that maybe we're just the assholes who leave garbage in the boundary waters when we go camping. Like, maybe
Well, I mean,
the aliens are a little better,
even the old, going back to the Twilight Zone episode where they're watching, they fuck with people's cars and watch an entire neighborhood self-destruct because they all start blaming each other. And it's like a moral lesson. We won't get too deep into the wormhole of this, but like, I'm sort of the belief that like, I find it too hopeless to think that aliens don't exist, that we're all that there is, because we suck. But
I mean, that's virtually mathematically impossible. Like,
right, but
this kind of goes back to what Jason was saying. Do I think they come and bother us? Probably not. If I was an alien, I'd stay the fuck away from Earth. But to think that we're the only life forms in the universe is just dumb.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think if they did come and visit us, like, they could be something that we can't even see with like our eyes, because it's just like a language. Like, if you go across the world and speak to a tribe who has their own language, you don't know what they're saying. But if this other being come in, maybe they're not made of matter. Their ships don't even show up with light. It doesn't have the same. And again, I'm going way down.
The likelihood that it would be something that we could comprehend would be unlikely.
Right. Like, it could be
would be
right
more
here in
like-
the room with me, and I would not know.
Yeah, it would be more like Annihilation, or like, surprise, it's sentient space cancer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Jason, you've been quiet. It's your episode, and all you said was, "I don't believe."
I don't believe. Yeah, I thought the Area 51 and Roswell stuff, it's old. I mean, we all know that. The I don't know. I thought the sightings was just weak sauce, and then the four dudes was definitely the best part of the whole episode, regardless of what you think. But to me, it was just like, yeah, you guys created a story and told each other and stuck to it. Why does this mean anything? So,
well, when I was a kid, I remember watching. I don't remember if it's this specific episode, but an episode of Unsolved Mysteries where like they had like, someone looked in the sky and there was like twinkling sort of red lights, and I remember like psyching myself out because it was like 2 a.m. and I had to go like let our family dog outside, and I was like, this punk kid who dyed his hair black and thought he was so cool and tough. And I'm like standing by the back door, like telling the dog, like, just go out, pee, and come back in. I didn't even want to step outside the back door. Of course, I would like never admit that back then. I'm like, I'm not scared of an alien episode, but I just remember like for some reason that freaked me out more than like, because it felt like the true crime ones were like, oh, that's in a big city where there's crime and stuff. I'm in small town Iowa, it's not gonna happen. But it's like,
Yeah.
The sky is infinite. Like looking up at the stars sometimes still freaks me out. The bottom of the ocean and outer space are the two scariest fucking things in the world. So
I feel you. I mean, it felt the same way. I've told the story 1,000 times here, even recently, watching Fire in the Sky in the empty theater by myself in the middle of the night, and then having to walk home and just watching the sky the whole way home.
I want to believe.
This being a later season episode, the effects budget was clearly a little better, and the technology got better as well.
Yeah.
So most of the UFO stuff looks pretty good, and
No
I
glowing
really like the
garages.
ones we didn't really talk about, the ones where it was the kind of flying wing shape.
Chevron
Yeah.
shape.
Than a
Chevron.
saucer.
Chevron shape.
Chevron.
Chevron.
Chevron,
Chevron
yes,
shape.
that's right, chevron. They only said that 70,000 times during that segment. But my favorite one was the one that you see crashed, the saucer-shaped one that you see crashed into the hillside in the Roswell one, because that looked like a miniature model instead of like some shitty video toaster effect.
Yeah.
So it was just cool to see in a show that kind of really leans on the digital effects, and I understand why, because they had a quick turnaround time. They were, making these weekly at this point. Digital's just faster then, even though it looked like ass. But the fact that they took the time to have a practical model shot in, I just really appreciated that.
Well, I thought the one was sort of cool, like in Erie, when the guy was in the military and he's walking past and he's like sees in the crack, he sees stuff and he can't explain what it is, like wreckage. The reenactment sort of corny, but like not like the way they did it, of like you sort of just see a glimpse of it through the crack. That is what you need to do instead of showing a green alien with big black buggy eyes. Like tease it,
Yeah, it was well written.
Yeah, and stuff like this, less is more. You show the whole
Yes.
thing, it's going to be like, well, that's a cheap TV show special effect. But if
Right.
you just give those little glimpses, that's what's going to make the tough punk kid scared to take his dog outside at 9 o'clock at night.
All right. Any more trivia you want to share about this one, or about Unsolved Mysteries in general?
Let's see here. I had it pulled up, and I know that Matthew McConaughey got his start on Unsolved Mysteries. He was in one of the episodes,
Nice.
his first acting role. So you can actually like, I
And they
think
still haven't figured out why he got an acting role. I'm just kidding.
on that little documentary, that hour-long documentary, they actually show a little clip of it. And they didn't get to actually talk to him, but it was episode 5, season 12. And yeah, he's in the reenactment. And let's see what I have. Although the series was doing well in the Nielsen ratings, NBC canceled it at the end of the 1996-97 season, citing a desire for television shows designed to attract younger audiences.
Boo.
Because they love staying home and watching TV.
All right, Brian. What is our last episode we're going to talk about? Your
Last
favorite.
episode is, I don't know that it has a specific title, but it's season 2, episode 17.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries, the heartwarming story of a Vietnam vet whose battle wounds nearly cost him his life, and the Army nurse who healed him both physically and emotionally. You may be able to help reunite them after 20 years. By all appearances, Gertrude Pruitt seemed to be the kindly grandmother you would find in a normal Rockwell painting. But in reality, this sweet little old lady was a con artist who stole $3 million from investors. And in Missouri, we will investigate a baffling case of kidnapping, bank robbery, and murder. Did a bank president die as the victim in a simple holdup, or was his death a cruel and callous execution? Join me for these fascinating stories. Perhaps someone somewhere has that one vital clue that can help solve a mystery. Perhaps that someone is watching. Perhaps it's you.
Yeah. So this is one of those episodes where that, because I remember watching this as a kid too. I would I think even when it first came on, it must have aired in a later, like a time slot after my bedtime for, when I was an elementary school kid. So I remember getting special dispensation to stay up on the nights that Unsolved Mysteries was on. And I would always feel robbed when it was one of the boring, like just grown up crime story episodes. Which
Like I
this
miss somebody that I saw in the war.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, there's a story about like, and it's a sweet story. Like, it's nice that this
as an adult,
Vietnam
I
vet
kinda
got
liked
reunited with, like, that story felt like something that would have been on, what was that Steven Spielberg show?
Amazing
it.
stories.
Amazing stories.
Yes, this felt like something that if you gave it a supernatural bent, it would have been an episode of that.
Well, did
and
anyone
then-
feel with this one like his wife has to be jealous, right? Because this guy's like, I'm gonna be
Obsessing for years about
yeah,
this nurse. Yeah.
I'm gonna be depressed and have PTSD until I meet this beautiful blonde with blue eyes that gave me beer and jerked me off when I was injured.
Gave me sponge baths.
She was like, I don't know
And-
why she
and
wrote
went-
this letter, but
Went to this huge effort to get this painting made for her that looks like he maybe asked his kids' art class to make.
Like it should be on the side of a van. She called it a plaque. She was like, I appreciate
she
this
teared
beautiful plaque. I'm like, it's a painting.
Such a tender story. We're horrible people. For me.
But the funny thing is, so I watched this fucking episode twice because Unsolved Mysteries is on Peacock, and it's also on YouTube on FilmRise's channel.
Yeah.
And apparently, the episodes and the seasons don't line up from place to place, and that could have something to do with this constant updating thing that they do. But this episode, or this story, was in both of the season 2 episode 17s that I watched.
That's crazy.
And then there's a story about a bank robbery that goes bad and the guy gets killed, whatever. And actually, it was funny. We were watching this, and Terry said that she's watched because Terry's really into true crime stuff. So she watches all, 60 Minutes shows and all these different true crime things. And she'd said that she knew that story about the bank robbery because there had been a much longer thing
Like a
made
whole
just
documentary
about that.
on it,
Yeah. And then there's the one about the old lady who was a con artist
Hell yeah.
and her kid. And the best part is, like, once they get busted, they both run and she gets away.
Uh-huh.
She's like,
And her
fuck this,
son.
I'm leaving my kid. And she just skedaddles to fucking, Cabo or wherever with the money and leaves him to get arrested.
I had to sort of relate it to horror though, like when they're talking about, how they thought that the bank robbery gone bad, like the bank manager was likely unconscious but alive. I was like, I don't really understand how they're thinking that, but like the idea that they chain these, bricks to the bottom of a chair and throw them in, I'm like, I can't think of a much worse way to die.
Oh
Jesus.
no! And
You
like
know.
the theory was he was like unconscious when they threw him in. Imagine
Hopefully.
waking up to that.
Yeah.
Waking up underwater.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you're
It's like-
just having a couple of seconds to think, oh shit, I'm underwater.
Yeah.
But if you're unconscious, your first thing is you're going to panic and breathe in,
Right.
Nope.
Just instinctively.
You're done.
which will hasten your death. Actually, that would make it probably a little less awful but anyway. So I have 2 notes that I don't even remember which things they were tied to before we get to the segment that actually was the point of doing this episode. I had one note that said, who names their kid Sappho? Never mind, Jack Wiener is worse.
Yeah. Jack Wiener.
Which segment was that from?
I think it might have been the bank one.
Okay.
oh yeah, I definitely made fun of that.
And then this one I know is from the old lady con artist one. The note just says, maybe the spray tan got into Myrna's brain, and that's why she was so easy to swindle.
She had too much fruitcake.
Yeah.
My Lord.
I love that she was like luring them in with her fruitcake.
Yeah.
Now it's like every bank has fraud detection and all this shit. Like catch it so fast. But yeah, it's weird to think like back then you meet with somebody to go over like investing in stocks and
Yeah, this is an episode that took place before the internet, because there's no way.
For sure.
Well,
Yeah.
Also, am I the only one
thanks
here
to
who
the
kind of
internet, there's all
actually
new ways
likes?
to rip people off. What's that?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if I was the only one here who actually kind of likes fruitcake.
I haven't had it since I was a kid, and I don't
Oh.
remember liking it
I
as a
think I
kid.
could eat a
but,
little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not something you'd want to like have a whole loaf of. That's doesn't matter.
I have a weird association with it. Has anyone ever seen the Pee Wee Christmas special?
Probably when I was a kid,
Yeah.
but
Like it has like a million special guests, and they're all really weird, like Charo and Cyndi Lauper and
Is that
whatever.
secret
Oh,
word?
and everybody brings him a fruitcake.
Yes,
right?
everybody
Yeah.
brings him a fruitcake, and he gets like more and more aggressively like or passive aggressive every time. He's like, "Gee, thanks for another fruitcake," and he just has like 30
Spot on.
fruitcakes. Yeah. Anyways,
so Ogopogo
What? What's
is the
Ogopogo?
Canadian version of the Loch Ness Monster, making its home in Okanagan Lake in British Columbia. Many of the pop culture representations, like if you go to some of the towns around there who make their tourist money on people wanting to come and try to spot Ogopogo, will have statues and figurines and t-shirts and things, and they give it a more serpentine look, more in line with the plesiosaur type creature that Nessie and a lot of other lake monsters are described as. But most quote-unquote official descriptions by cryptozoologists suggest something closer to a basilosaurus, which is a species of prehistoric proto-whale. It appears within the same latitudinal band as most other reported lake monsters around the world, and the first well-documented sighting was in 1872 by Susan Allison, who was the first white settler in the area. So, of course, over the decades, many people have traveled up to British Columbia trying to spot Ogopogo, just like they do going to Loch Ness and trying to spot Nessie. And like with all lake monsters, all of the video evidence is very easily identifiable as total fucking bullshit.
Yes.
the argument that it wasn't a beaver was so ridiculous.
Zoom
Which
way
is
in
funny
on this
because
beaver.
if you were going to add, other than aliens existing somewhere in the universe, if you were going to ask me, I remember having this conversation with my buddy Keith Foster a couple of G-Fests ago, like we all have, or at least most of us have, some, even though we could be the most skeptical people, the most hardline, evidence-driven, realistic people in the world, everyone's got one little weird thing they believe. And mine would be prehistoric holdovers, and that is based largely on scientific evidence because of coelacanths, which were thought to be extinct for tens of thousands of years, and then somebody caught one in 1937. So, like, that is a real thing. But do I believe there are giant prehistoric reptiles living in densely populated tourist areas? Not so much.
So I just want to say I've clocked you in about 2 minutes talking about Ogopogo, and that is more time than the episode spent talking about it.
He
Right,
had-
because it's a bunch of
watching
boring
it.
true crime shit and then an afterthought fun monster segment.
It's
and
so-
these
it's
were the
so
kinds
depressing.
of episode, huh?
It's so depressing. It's such an afterthought that, like, they don't even talk about it in that intro that Jason played. Robert
Right.
Stack doesn't even bring it up as being part of the episode.
Well, and that's I wonder. You remember I said earlier that I technically watched this episode twice, and it was two completely different things other than the Vietnam story. So I wonder if the intro
It really
he
was
played was
added on.
from the other episode that I watched that didn't have this in it.
Yeah.
But then the old lady was anyway. It doesn't matter. The video that they play in this episode of what is supposedly Ogopogo is clearly a fucking beaver. It slaps its tail, which was what beavers do to warn all the other beavers in the area of danger, and then it dives. And you can even see its little webbed feet
No,
kicking
Brian.
up before it submerges.
No, Brian, this one didn't lift its head up first.
Yeah, so it couldn't.
It couldn't possibly be a
So
beaver.
this is one of those episodes that I would have like spent my staying up late for the week coin on, hoping to see something cool, and been really disappointed, and then got really excited at the very end. But the best part of the entire episode is the zoologist they talk to. Because they talk to a bunch of different, like, they talk to some people from the town, and they talk to some like cryptozoologists and monster hunters, and they're like, oh no, we've seen beaver and we've seen otter, and this couldn't possibly be that. This thing was clearly 30 feet long, and and then they talk to this zoologist, and he is so visibly annoyed and having to explain, guys, it's a fucking beaver. Just, he's over it. He's on national television. This is probably the most attention this guy has ever got in his life. And he's just like, please shut up and leave me alone. It's a beaver.
Yeah.
Anyway. So
Yeah.
lake monsters, what do you guys think?
Well, and then those early shots, you're like, that's a dark spot. Why do you think?
Well, the guy driving with his family, he sees what they think is a group of ducks, and he decides this is a good spot to pull over and get my film camera out and get, like, if you just thought it was ducks, then why do you pull over and get, and of course, it's like the worst fucking, picture and video, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then I love the like video of the guy who had like that old like hand crank video camera and was like, I was just getting videos of my family, and I saw this thing, and I love like the reenactment. The dude's wearing like short denim shorts and like a trucker hat and has that old school camera. It's just like a moment locked in time, It's like it's endearing.
Like the shots they captured of the thing swimming at a little farther distance, and you can see how if you really wanted to convince yourself that was something, you could. But they're talking about, it has a snake-like body and it's moving in these undulations. Like, it's swimming across the current. Mm-hmm. Those undulations are waves, you fucking dork. You live on a lake. Have you never seen a boat make a wake before? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Jason's just happy we're all on the same page this time.
Thankfully, gosh.
I love the idea of these. I love the idea of Nessie or this creature living in the water. Do I believe it? No, but it's cool that this like exists and people really want it to.
Canada was just I want a Nessie, and they made up the beaver thing.
But they were alien beavers. Ghost alien
or zombie
beavers.
beavers.
Yeah,
Zombie
beavers.
beavers.
Let's do that on
Better
the show.
than this.
We should. That movie's a blast. Anyway.
So yeah, it wasn't too heavy on the episode wasn't too heavy on content for our show, but I still think
The one that could have been the most real was actually the lamest.
But I still like the episode. I thought, what's great about this episode that they do in other episodes is the blending of different stories. You get this heartwarming, like, I want to find this person's story. You get some true crime, stuff going on. And then, throw on a cryptid for shits and giggles.
Mm-hmm.
Any final trivia there on Unsolved Mysteries?
Sure. I sort of talked about this, but this confirms it. So the show is no longer in production. Cosgrove Mirror Production has a website for the show starring popular accounts and still unsolved crimes. There's also a link to an online forum viewers and website visitors can use to submit information on such cases. Dennis Farina hosted starting in 2008.
I love that guy.
Let's see. That's all. There's other stuff, but nothing really interesting. So we'll just.
He's awesome. I love Jack Palance, if that was a thing. But it just feels wrong if it's not Robert Stack.
Yeah.
Oh man, the trench coat sales in those years. Oh man.
And if you watch this documentary on YouTube about the behind the scenes stuff, it's really fascinating. But also, there's some footage of behind the scenes of Robert Stack. They did some episode with like dogs or something, and he's trying to hold 3 crazy puppies. Aww. And he keeps breaking character where he's supposed to be like, dead serious, and he keeps like laughing because they're licking his face. It's like the most
How
wholesome.
could you not?
The most wholesome fucking great thing, because he's like, God damn it, they keep licking my face, and I got this big smile on his face. It's just fantastic.
I was explaining to my kid about this show that we were doing an episode on Unsolved Mysteries. He had never seen the show before, trying to explain to him about Robert Stack, and so he's like Googling Robert Stack, and it immediately goes to the Unsolved Mysteries parody that he did in basketball. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember." Yep. I'm like, "Yeah, that's what he's doing. This is what Unsolved Mysteries was like."
This was making fun of, yeah.
Yep.
I forgot about that. That's funny.
Yep. All right, let's rank the episodes. Jason.
Oh God, do I have to? I guess this last one, because I was into it with the one-legged dude.
Oh yeah, I forgot he had one leg.
Well, yeah, because there were like at least twice they had these 4-minute shots of him walking down the hallway, and
Or
you're
him
like,
playing baseball out in the yard.
like what?
Like playing catch with one leg, yeah.
And then I guess ghosts, and then aliens. I guess.
All right, Tad.
I was sort of surprised because I went in thinking this Halloween special was going to be my favorite, but I think Aliens was favorite, and then probably the Halloween, then the last episode.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, same as Tad. Aliens, then ghosts, then a bunch of nonsense with a maybe beaver monster at the end.
Killer beaver.
Huh? I may have to rethink mine. I went Halloween special first, then Aliens, then, whatever that last episode was. Yeah.
Pogo.
Yes. All right, we're not going to do kill of the episode because it's Unsolved Mysteries. It's not really. I mean, there's the bank guy that was drowned, but that's
R.I.P.
Yeah, that's more tragic than fun.
Well, you could say the thieving old lady, she died, and good for that because she stole a bunch of money from people. So
Well, there's a whole episode of ghosts. Presumably they were all dead.
It's true. I'd say if we did a best kill, it'd be the.
In fact, wasn't
disembodied head
the ghost head that was floating around in the kitchen a Cossack?
Probably.
Anyway.
Zoom tight. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to finish off the show with the last two segments. But first, you're going to hear a promo for our podcast network called The Prescribed Films Podcast Network. The PFPN is home to so many great shows, such as the Bad Movie Bunny podcast. Every episode reviews horror and thriller movies, but the screams you hear, are the screams you hear your own. So you can check out the Bad Movie Bunny podcast and all the other shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show. Now it's time to hear from you guys, the listeners. Here's Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for
Shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, we asked, what are your favorite episodes of Unsolved Mysteries? What are the segments that still give you nightmares? And I don't think they do. Everyone was too scared to admit publicly. But we did get one in our group edition on Facebook, our Facebook group. We got Chris Anderson says, Resurrection Mary.
yeah,
Tad? No? Remember that?
yeah, it's a creepy one about a lady on the highway. Sort of like every small town has that story, of like you drive past the cemetery at it's this exact mile per hour and the lady appears, but the reenactment's really creepy because they do like black out her face and yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any of those? Do you have any like little ghosty urban legendy
No.
stories and watch here?
No.
Yeah, they always said that the Opera House was haunted.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't care.
We
I
have
mean,
two-
pay
Watch Here
attention.
has an opera house?
Huh?
Watch Here has an opera house?
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's a national landmark.
Okay.
We have two old like urban legends in Burlington. There's Bloody Mary, and then there's like a witch house.
Ours was there was a point just outside of Oskaloosa, where like it was called the 5 Point, I think, or whatever, where like 5 roads met in one spot, and if you went there at midnight, you'd see the ghost of this hearse or whatever.
You made that up.
No, I'm serious.
And that's shout-outs. We didn't have any voicemails. I don't know. Either our audience is too young or they didn't or couldn't think of
This
any.
show is one of those things, like, unless it's something like the Halloween special,
Yeah,
or that
all of it.
you don't remember distinct episodes. It's just like maybe a segment here. Like, I don't even remember specific segments. I have memories of watching the show.
Yep.
I could not tell you any of the things I watched as a kid.
Well, some of us
on the
still
show.
watch it like 5 days a week. So
Yeah.
In,
Well,
in between episodes of The Price is Right on.
yep, you've been to my house, haven't you? Jason has stayed over, and he knows you. I wake up with Prices Right on the weekends, baby.
I do know that. All right. Well, if you ever want to leave a voicemail, you can do that. It's pretty easy. All you got to do is give us a call at 415-952-6857 or 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail, and we'll play it on the show. That is shout-outs.
Tonight, terror in small-town Iowa. Many residents of Ottumwa have reported seeing strange beings lurking in the night. People have begun to call these figures the Neon Maniacs. Are they merely young hooligans playing a prank, or are there darker forces at work? All this and more on this episode of Insane's Picks.
I first heard of this shot-on-video movie in a full-page ad in Film Threat Video Guide back in the day. The movie is City of Vampires from 1993. The filmmaker was Ron Bonk. It was.
I believe you. I know who he is.
Oh, okay. It was his first movie, and that movie... Oh, wait. One more time. It was his first movie, and that movie, with that ad, led to a video distribution empire. The IMDb description says, a gory and violent take on Night of the Living Dead, only with vampires. That is almost the worst description I think I've ever read on IMDb, although it does match the quality of the film. The film is about Sam Helling, played by Matthew Jason Walsh, who is searching for his missing girlfriend in a city that has been overrun by vampires. Sort of. He searches throughout abandoned buildings, abandoned streets, abandoned railroad tracks, abandoned alleys, abandoned sidewalks, and he keeps searching and searching and searching. Yes, you guessed it. The film itself is pretty slow, and it is really hard to get through in one setting, even with its 82-minute running time. I swear it's almost an hour in before he even confronts any vampires. It's just him walking around looking. It does have some stuff going for it with its shitty shot on VHS quality and finding every run-down location in his hometown. It really does have a kind of good, isolated, post-apocalyptic feel to it. However, they spend way too much time building that environment. Now, Ron Bonk always wanted to make movies. He was working in the antique business with his father at the time and would travel all over the U.S. going to antique shows. Around this time, he had gotten an SVHS camera and would shoot footage for his father for the antique business. But he really wanted to make his own films. At one point, when they were not traveling, he decided that he would make his first film. He wrote the script, City of Vampires, and that was going to be his first project. He did everything on this film, from the effects, directing, writing, and even when the film was completed, he released it himself. He put some ads in some different publications, which helped him sell a lot of copies of the film on VHS. These ads also caught the attention of other filmmakers who reached out to Ron to distribute their films. This here was the birth of the distribution company SRS Cinema. Ron has worked with many of the greats, such as Tim Ritter, H.R. Bookwalter, Mark Polonia, and even Chris Seaver. Oh, no. So, not that I'm actually recommending City of Vampires. The film is noteworthy as part of the shot-on-video filmmaking history. So there you have it. That wraps up another episode of Attack of the Killer podcast. I've learned a thing or two today. I've learned that ghosts come in all shapes and sizes. They can be mean and scary by pretending to set your garage on fire. They can be pranksters by flipping pictures on your TV. Or they could be perverts by blowing into the ears of women. I also learned, if you want to get as many women as Robert Stack, you better get yourself a tan trench coat. Mm-hmm. You can follow us all over the internet, on X, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join us on our Discord to continue the conversation. If you can leave us a review, I would greatly appreciate it. Anywhere you leave reviews, preferably Apple Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and remember, keep watching horror movies.
Oh no, could this be the end of?
Attack of the Killer